Welcome to Channel AMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested in migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side so once about all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now let's have a talk about some of the similarity. Now recently we have seen the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, has resigned and stepped down from his party. Obviously there's a lot of similarity between Canada and Australia, and has been commonly being compared the two countries, whether you should really migrate or study abroad in Canada or Australia. There's a lot of similarity. They are all English speaking countries and also very friendly to the Asian countries, and also close to United States. I mean, as in friendship. The distance wise, obviously Canada is adjacent to United States of America, but Australia is only an ocean away. However, the trend over the past few years, especially in the after the pandemic, there has been a lot of trend going on, and we also have seen how Donald Trump has won the elections and now retake the government of the United States, and it brings in the right-wing politics all around the globe. So let's do some little bit of historical checks now, whether, and we'll answer whether the Australia will actually follow the footsteps of what Canada has already been. The big brothers is right in front of the little brothers. Now first of all, we need to know Canada has taken a more relaxed approach, and also a more visionary. In compare, Australia is a lot more conservative compared to what the Canadians' approach had been, because over the past few years, I think in the past 5 to 7 years, with the whilst the Justin Trudeau was on the Prime Minister, he actually has injected, or I think the rough figure is about 3 million immigrants into, that's not just temporary, I'm talking about the permanent migrants into Canada. Now if we compare to the 10 years of what Australia has done, it's a lot more conservative, because every year is less than 200,000. As we know, they have never reached to 200,000. If we times by a 10, that's not even 2 million. Probably roughly, I would say about half of the immigration numbers compared to what Canada has done, and especially just right before pandemic, the Canada has taken a further approach on increasing the migrants numbers. So that's the big changes. Obviously, if we're talking about the general public population wise, Australia has a less population compared to Canada, and also economy wise, Canada is a little bit larger than Australia. So how would that actually compare? I think the ratio wise is still very, very similar. The other thing is Canada has much. It used to have those approach where the investors could actually invest into residential properties in order to actually gain visa purpose or migration purpose. Australia has never really chosen that approach in the past. Now that has obviously caused what had happened. I think this right before pandemic, that for example in Vancouver, they are now banning foreigner to actually invest and purchase real estate properties. Same thing had happened. They took on the same approach in New Zealand. Now that's a long time ago. There's no way that we have this kind of structural policy anymore. New Zealand did the similar structure, and then I forgot what year that was. I think it was before pandemic. New Zealand has legislated a similar law, just like what Vancouver has done, to actually ban and not allowing foreign investors into New Zealand's real estate properties. They only allow Australian citizen, New Zealand citizen, and also Singaporean citizen to actually be able to invest in New Zealand property. I'm not too sure why Singapore though. Probably there's a lot of New Zealanders holds and also holds Singaporean passport. Not too sure about that one. Maybe you can do a lot more fact check there. Now let's come more closer to the reason is the similarity as we have seen in the past few years. I mean, past 2 years that we can see is first thing Canada has announced that their caps on the international student permits, that's the visa, so they are capping on that one there just because there were too many similar problem there was housing crisis. There's also too many people utilizing student permits to actually work or do whatever they want, not a genuine student, in other words, and which was obviously we have seen what had been followed by the Australian government as well, despite that the actual cap on the Australian international student visas did not actually pass through. However, the de facto cap is still in place, where they have introduced the new direction, I think 111, and also the other one there to actually have that cap on top of on the student visa application. So that's the similarity there. And the other one is the more recent one is they are looking to finally trying to cut the actual immigration numbers there. So they wanted to cut major, I think 20% or something like that. We've done a specific video on this one. So they're capping that down, reducing from 500,000, 500,000 permanent resident down to 390. That's a lot. Now compared to that Australia is not even 200,000. Back then their goal is to getting 500,000 people per year for 2025. That's this year. Now they already cut that down to 395,000, and in 2026 cutting down to 380,000. For Australia is less than that, and that's the differences here is obviously we know that Australia is also looking to cut the permanent migration number. However, it did not went while, as you saw, that Canada has planned for 500,000 permanent resident intakes per year. That was their plan, you see, and that's how they get 3 million within less than 5 years. That was just too many. But Australia-wise, they had never actually done such things. So what Australia has planned was less than 200,000. I think 190,000 last year and 195,000 the year before, and this year is 185,000. Now, if the Liberal National, the Conservative Australian parties going to be the ruling party for 2000, well, if they win the general elections, they plan to cut further down. So the only difference here is that Australia never took the boldness on getting so many migrants in a short time. And that had obviously caused the problem in Canada, and that's also one of the reasons that the Prime Minister of Canada is now resigned and will step down once they have the new leader. And Australia-wise had never done that because the former government of Australia was a conservative compared to what Canada had. Justin Trudeau has been there for the past 9 years. That means during his 9 years, Australia was ruled and governed by the Conservatives. Now, it looks like Canada is turning into a Conservative party once the new leader is up there. And Australia-wise has not really gone through in such route. Now, that's the differences there. But there's still a bigger trend geopolitically because the right-wing politics, as Donald Trump has won the US election in 2024, now will be inaugurated on the 20th of January this year. and that right wing will actually go into had actually go into Canada, and actually I believe that will also go into what's going to happen in the Australian politics as well. So we have talked about Peter Dunn. He's the current opposition leader and will likely to be our next Prime Minister of Australia. However, he had a different approach. Obviously, there was a cap, talking about the cap, student cap, and now he walks back a promise on cutting net migration. So sometimes these are the differences between Australia and Canada. So will actually Australia perform better than Canada? I doubt, because Australia is still not much of following on Canada's or US's pathway. First of all, because geographically, Australia is not adjacent to the United States, not in the continent of America. It's actually in Australasia, close to Asia, and has been trading heavily with Asian countries, especially with China. So that's the biggest difference. Now, Canada's biggest trading partner is United States, with all the energy trading, that's petroleum, going into USA. Now, that's a major difference compared between Canada and Australia. Australia has been a major trader on the coal, energy, mining areas to China. So how will that actually change in the upcoming futures? It will be interesting to actually watch. Now, we also seeing that the Justin had met Donald Trump right before Christmas, I think, and the Trump had made a little. I'm not too sure about the joke or not, but coining about the idea that Canada to become the 51st state of United States. Obviously, I don't think Canadian will actually accept that. But if Australia has the opportunity to become the 51st, or having the 8 states and territory to become USA states, I think will be probably a good thing, because Australia has never been a country that putting a focus on technological and advancements development at all, with the potential injections of American ideas. I think will likely to boost a lot more better economy into what Australia has already been rolled out for the past 20-30 years, which they never really got into advanced technology, and we are in 2025. However, I don't think Australia will also like it as well. And no one will actually like to be someone else's, property. So cool. So anyway, this video is basically doing comparisons of Australia and Canada. Now, what I think Australia has already following a lot of things that Canada has already been done. However, the result of those policy will have a little bit of the differences, because the volume of what Canada has actually taken migration numbers compared to what Australia has taken in the past 10 years is a lot of differences there. However, the policy is still the same, but I think Australia has a lot more potential to grow rather than getting into a troublesome so-called like what Canada has already experienced. Anyway, should you have more questions and query, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.